All you need is one person in your life who says, "You got this, I believe in you," and you will find courage and energy to do things that you would not have had before. But more importantly, that person needs to also say, "And if everything goes wrong, I will be there for you, and I will be there with you, and I will be in the mud with you," and has the ability to say, "Something's wrong, I'm worried about you." And I think burnout happens when you're attempting to do all of the things you see other people do and not realize that they have deep, meaningful relationships that you can't see. And you think, falsely, that you have to do it alone. And that's when burnout happens, because you don't, as an individual, have the energy. But in community and in relationship and in friendship, it's remarkable, including knowing when to just take a little break to recharge.
Hi, everybody. I'm John Self, and welcome to Lunch and Learn. This is the broadcast of the Lunch and Learn, originally scheduled for Tuesday at 11:30, and Tuesday at 11:30 we didn't have power. Ferocious storms came through, hurricane force winds, and the power went down. I think over 50,000 people in a city of 110,000 did not have power, which is a remarkable thing. And so it is. We decided to kind of redo it today. It's a Friday, and so if people are going to get caught up, this is a great time to do it. Let's get started. We're focusing today on the importance of the interview. Now, in this market, with things changing and the administrative management executive ranks, the jobs are kind of dwindling as companies reevaluate how they're going to respond to AI and what they can do in healthcare, which has been one of the big, fuelers of job growth. And the job reports today was pretty phenomenal. However, it will probably be, geared down, and it's not political, but boy, I don't care who's in office. Sometimes the numbers just defy imagination. So I'm not saying it's a political deal or anything else, because the numbers are the numbers, and I mean, they manage them, but they come out and that's it. So you don't really. I don't. To the civil servants in the labor department crunching all those numbers, I think they're pretty straight people. I would hope so anyway. But the point is, in jobs in the management executive level, those still are very, very hard to find. It's an 8 to 14 month cycle. And so you really have to have a great network now more than ever before. And if you don't think so, I got to tell you, you got to go talk to some people who have just found jobs after 8 to 14 months. Some were worried about being homeless because they had spent all of their retirement, all of it, just trying to find another job. Look, some people were paying a lot of money for the get quick, for the bright, shiny, this solution answer. This is going to get me my wonderful job. Kind of like people in the 80s spending $50,000 with Robert Haldane to get jobs nobody knew about. Well, that Robert Haldane was a great guy when he got started, but he didn't have the secret list anymore because communication had changed. So people were looking for an answer. They were struggling. And the truth is, some people wasted a lot of money. And the truth is, what gets you a job is your network. What gets you a job is having people who can refer you to the job. And what gets you the job is to be really, really good at the fundamentals of job search. Now, this is where the rub comes in because most people maybe look for 15 jobs in their entire life and they may go 3 to 4 or 5 years. So all those skills get rusty. But we're here to help you. We're not here to just help you, find another job. We're here to help you transform your career, to make it a more rewarding, balanced life work relationship, and to stay current of what's going on so that you can take advantage of opportunities to advance. So let's focus today on our topic, elevating your interviewing skills. It's really this is really, truly a make or break performance to achieve your goals. Jobs are lost at the interview table. I have seen people with impressive resume come in and just answer questions. They weren't particularly articulate, weren't particularly impressive. And it doesn't matter really where they come from. Some people are naturally gifted in extemporaneous speaking, but most people are not. And if you ever want any evidence of that, go to a UIL speech tournament and see the new people coming in to compete in extemporaneous speaking. I mean, it can be painful sometimes, and I've sat through thousands and thousands of interviews in my career, and a lot of them were painful. Not because they were bad people, not because they were doing something wrong, other than they were struggling to communicate their value. Somebody back in the day told them, "Hey, don't brag." And so they come in and just try to answer questions. And sometimes they don't even have the quantifiable information to be successful. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Now, some people know who I am, some people don't. Let me tell you my story. It changed in 1976 in a way that I could not ever possibly imagine. I was walking down the hallway at Herman Hospital. And this is kind of the way it looked in the 1950s. One of the things it taught me is understand what you're getting into. Now, my life began at Herman Hospital. That's where I was born. It kind of looked like that in the 1950s. And after a career as a crime writer, I really decided it was hard on my family. I was working in the night side, and so till 2, 3 in the morning. And so I decided to go into hospital public relations, and I went to Herman. And right after getting there, I didn't know anything about being a PR person, that the CEO just liked me. And he thought he saw something in me. I don't know what it was. But right after I got there, he asked me to go to Denver with the famous Dr. Red Duke and Glenda Gates and, Larry, the CFO. Can't remember his last name. He passed on. Really, and so we go up to Denver because they were very successful operating a helicopter ambulance service. I thought, well, this is crazy. They're successful because they're right by the mountains, and it's hard to get people in and out of the mountains. And as I was sitting there saying, I just don't see how this is going to work, Red Duke said, "Son, we live in Houston. We don't have any mountains, but we got a hell of a lot of traffic." And that silly little exchange between us just opened it up. And I kind of got excited, and I began to see what Denver was doing, St. Anthony Hospital, and it was called Flight for Life. And it was run by a former police chief who had plenty of contacts. So I got back to Herman and told the CEO, I said, this would be really cool, and I'll be happy to help you any way I can. Then left it at that until one day I was walking down the hallway going to a meeting. Now, at this point, let me be honest. I recognized a hospital maybe 3 out of 4 times or 5 times, and I knew less about helicopters. And as I passed my boss, who was in a heated conversation with a faculty neonatologist that took care of the premature babies, the doctor said, "And you're going to do that stupid effing helicopter program, and you've got nobody to run it." And Bill Smith, the CEO, who was a legendary marketer and did great things at Herman and great things in the long-term care industry, looked up, saw me, caught my eye, and said, "John Self's going to do it, and he'll sink with it or swim with it." And that 10 or 12 seconds changed my life so dramatically. It's hard to really explain what happened. So let me tell you a little bit about my story. I did start out as a crime writer. I worked at a little newspaper in East Texas with a circulation of about 48,000 people and thought we were hot stuff. 48,000, that was a lot of people reading your stuff, and did rewrites on obituaries. The funeral homes would call in at night. You type the obituaries and you would go out and cover wrecks or cover. They didn't have many shootings here in Tyler. I think I covered maybe one homicide in 2 or 3 years, and then got to Houston, and holy crap. But anyway, after being a reporter in Houston and at the Houston Post, which was the morning newspaper, our final deadline was, I think, 1:45 in the morning, the 5-star final. And so after that, you would go hang out with the cops and try to pick up on interesting stories you could write. That's when I decided this is going to kill me. And so I went into PR, became the first director of Herman's Life Helicopter Ambulance Program. Today, it's one of the largest in the nation, not because of me. I set up the basic marketing program. We built the basic brand and built trust. And then there have been some remarkable people that have followed me and the original flight nurses and have built an amazing program, an amazing trauma center. I'm an experienced business developer. I've done management services, from selling helicopters to other hospitals and showing them how to implement the program, to management contracts to help rural community hospitals that were undergoing an onslaught from regulatory change, such as the DRG program, and hospitals were closing everywhere. I became the managing partner of a global executive search firm. I decided I needed to change careers from hospital management services and consulting, and went into executive search in 1994. And I've taught job interview courses for a global professional association for 10 plus years. I'm an author. I write essays. I have a newsletter that comes out every day on Substack called Guiding Your Career Report. And it's a great source of information for what's happening in the job market. So that's who I am. I have a lot of experience in career management. I have a lot of experience in interviewing. I've seen the good, the bad, and the really, really ugly. So I'm here to help you, sharpen your interview skills. And I went from a small city newspaper, marketing manager of an aviation company, to a global executive search company. And I did this all without a career plan. Now, let me tell you, you don't know that may not recognize this photograph. This was Lynn Dawson, the Kansas City Chiefs quarterback in the second Super Bowl, I believe. I believe they were playing the Green Bay Packers. And this is halftime. That's a bottle of, I don't even, they make it anymore. That's a bottle of Fresca. They were the visiting teams, hence they were all in white. And he's smoking a cigarette. And so the picture symbols my advice to you. I had a career without a written plan. I'm now one of the biggest advocates. I absolutely believe in it. The research reaffirms that you need to have a written plan. Those that do are more successful, and they tend to make more money. So do as I say, not as I do. This photo was a legendary photo taken by Bill Ray of Life. Guess what? Life did not publish this because they just thought it was too ordinary. Now we go crazy if a football player kneels during the national anthem, but that's life. Now, let's be honest, the job market today is not very friendly. And we're going to I'll give you a quick overview of the trends and the projections for the future. And one of the things that I really want you to understand is that the market, if you haven't been in the market in several years, then wow, you're in for a real surprise, because it has not just changed. Automation, now AI, and computer scanners and computer sourcing have turned recruiting on its ear. And more, you're seeing avatars do interviews, where they ask you a question and then you have so long to give a response. Some of this stuff is garbage. Some of it is going to stick around for screening interviews. Why? Companies are attempting to when they started all this in the late 90s, companies were trying to drive out bias, drive out discrimination, speed up the process, and reduce cost, always. And there's some unintended consequences. So let's just dig into this. Right now, there's intense competition for really good jobs. And I have seen some really incredible people with incredible experience, incredible accomplishments, incredible everything was incredible. And they were on the market for over a year. Now, it's changed. And this never would have happened 10 years ago. But I'm telling you now, if you think that you can get a job by just sitting in front of your computer and applying for a job online, you are making one of the most ridiculous mistakes that's imaginable. Why? Because without a professional network, you will be career limited. A recruiter for a Viron aircraft software developer, he put a job out for one position. He got 983 applicants for one position. Okay, so all those are coming in. They're going through all those. They're scanning them. They're evaluating by algorithm whether these people meet the requirements. But a trusted referral source gave him 6 other applicants. When he reached out to them and said, look, I'm doing this search. Do you know if anybody might be interested? She said, yes, I have 6 people that are really top notch. I'm not sure they'd be interested, but why don't you reach out to them? One quickly emerged as the favorite. Okay? The recruiter told the Wall Street Journal that for all the applicants that they hire now, only about 40% come from the online portal. Now, that means they're getting other candidates through referral sources, and that means if you're relying on online, you're in the minority, and you look like everybody else. As one candidate said, who was really applying and was a 95% match for qualifications, was ignored, told we're sorry, we've hired somebody else. She found out that they hired someone that was referred. And as her comment was, the front door is locked. We're going through the back door or we're not working. Now, what does that mean? That means if you don't have a career network who has a key to the back door and knows the hallways and where the hiring manager is, you're in trouble. And that's sort of a metaphor for you need to find people who align with your plan. It's great to have somebody in Virginia that thinks you're really great, loves you, will make any phone call in the world for you. That's great. But they don't know the Chicago market or the Iowa market or the Mountain West. And so you need those people in Virginia who you've worked with in the past and who can speak up for your great qualities and strengths. But you also need those people that are in those territories where you want to live and work. And so you got to be disciplined and build your network around your career plan. Now, this is called Networking 3.0. Career planning, if you don't have a written plan, you're going to be inefficient. If you don't have a career plan, you're hurting yourself. You really are. And people say, well, I don't have a career plan, never had one, not going to do one. Great. See you on the sidelines, partner. The who you know networking is back. And some people have said that to me over and over and over. That 30% of the eventual hires had referrals, even though this group represented just 5% of the applicant pool in one case. Online networking is a tool to make connections like LinkedIn. I mean, that's a tool. It's not going to get you a job directly. Recruiters use LinkedIn to scan profiles. So you got to be on LinkedIn, but you got to understand what it does and what it doesn't do. It doesn't build trusted relationships. Because there's so many people out there selling crap that nobody wants and probably doesn't work. And so many people want to connect with you just to sell you garbage. Be disciplined. Don't accept connections from people unless they need your help or they want to come, there's some synergy. If they are somebody that says, well, we do this great stuff, don't connect with them. Why? Because all they want to do is sell you. And if you're not interested, they'll never talk to you again. They don't give a rat's rear end. All they care about is what they're selling. All they care about is themselves. Well, the one thing you need to understand about who you know networking is that it's all based on the person you're connecting with. Sure, you're making a strategic decision. I need to connect with that person because that works. That really lines up with what I'm trying to do. But let me tell you something. You can't get to the important interview if you don't have a network that can get you in the back door. Now, without a robust, effective network, I can't say this enough, so I added this slide. Your chances of getting an interview are significantly diminished. I mean, because 80% or just an incredibly high number of people are eliminated at the resume scan stage. Okay? You can't submit something to a computer and think, well, I'm really talented, I do all this other stuff, something will work out. The computer doesn't care. It's looking for It's looking for very specific things. It's an algorithm. And so you may have a great work attitude. You may have a heart of gold. You may be the kind of guy that shows up at 5 a.m. and goes home at 10 p.m. You may give your heart and soul to the company. The computer can't read that. And so until you get to the interview table, you can't express it. So you have to have a network to get yourself in the back door. And I'm telling you, if you're a manager or an executive, the market's not going to change much in the future, and you're going to have that network. So let's now focus on the job interview. A lot of jobs, you work so hard. I mean, my God, you kill yourself just to get to the interview table, and then you show up, you don't understand the process, you're not really prepared, you don't have stories, you don't have quantifiable achievements, and so somebody else that comes along that tells their story more effectively than you, they get the job. Now, I don't know about you, but as a coach, I'm really, really competitive. I'm really competitive. I'm bloody, just overwhelmed with being sure that my people, my clients, are not screwed over. Now, I can't control what somebody else does, but what I can do is teach clients how to be the best they can be. Okay? That way, if the prospective employer doesn't hire them, that's their mistake, not your mistake. Okay? It's really, really important for you to really know that this is highly competitive. It is a zero-sum game. If you don't get the job, it's because somebody beat you out. Somebody did a better job than you did. So let me know when you're tired of getting beaten out, and we can probably help you do a better job. Now, no one is born with great interviewing skills. That nonsense about it, well, he was just innately talented. That's a God-given gift. Listen, there is absolutely no disrespect to the spiritual world, but there's no evidence available to contradict this posit. There's no evidence that Itzhak Perlman was born with a talent that nobody else has. There's just no evidence. And so it's just like there's not a lot of evidence that having an MBA makes you a better leader. But, that's another story. So don't sit there and say, well, I can't do it. I can't do it because I wasn't born talented. I don't know how to do it. You can learn. Anybody can learn. You can learn to be a good storyteller. Now, it may take a long time. Okay, great. I understand that. But it is so important to be able to tell your story effectively. The job markets are going to continue to shrink. AI is going to have an impact. Who knows exactly how it's going to happen, but there are going to be fewer people working in areas like customer service, accounting, all of those, the clerical administrative functions. A lot of people. 5 million I don't have a clue. Mark Cuban seems to be fairly certain, but I don't. I can tell you this, that if you're a manager and executive, there's going to be a trickle-down effect. It's going to get to you. You may not lose your job, but there are going to be people, because you're going to have fewer people, you're going to need fewer managers. When you have fewer managers, you need fewer executives. And executives, they're already deciding how elastic their capabilities are. Are they multi-talented? That's what people are beginning to look for. So, career lesson number 2, first is don't do as I say, don't do as I did, do as I say. And number 2, competence requires focus, practice. You don't become a good interviewer because God, gave you the gift at birth. No, I'm a person of faith, and I don't believe that. I believe that you become effective at what you're doing because you work at it. You practice. I know some accomplished, great speakers that spend an hour on a speech that they've given 15, 20, 30, 40 times. They rehearse it. They think about their movements. They think about their audience. Who am I talking to this time? How much emotion should I inject into the answer or to my statements that I make? They think about this stuff, just like you have to think about all this when you're getting ready for an interview. Now, interviewing is all about telling a story. Okay, if you go answer questions, fine. But that's not going to, because a lot of times the questions don't really get to the nub of who you are. And so you have to be prepared to take their questions and tell them a story with your answer about who you are, what you believe, and why they should hire you. Okay? Remember this, interviewers do not remember facts and figures. They will remember a compelling story. Okay, so let's talk about how do you get to that point? There's 2 things that I want to talk to you about today. first is a core and categorical form. Now, this is a worksheet designed to help you organize your answers. You can complete you need to complete them for each position. This is about your content. The inverted pyramid is about how you deliver the answer, your organization. How do you organize the facts that you're going to present? Now, people say, John, there's no way you can do that because you can't anticipate what questions are going to be asked. Don't lie to yourself. That's just BS. I was a recruiter for 27 years. I worked in 6 different countries on 4 different continents. And I will tell you, that is the largest load of El Toro poo-poo I've ever heard in my life. Why? Because there's a set number of core questions that can be asked. People are going more and more toward behavior and values interviewing. Now, if you want to learn more about that, if you hadn't really experienced that, there's a book called Top Grading by Dr. Bradford Smart. It was written about the time Jack Welch was building his team at GE, and Welch, whether you like him or not, you got to give him a lot of credit. He was a CEO that put his heart, soul, and his ass on the line on the kind of people he recruited. And they were struggling, and he got basically a Brad Smart to come in and share the behavior and values approach, and he was more successful. And so in the book are a whole list of behavior and values questions, and it'll help you. But listen, there's another way to do it, so let's focus on that. Again, the core and categorical form we're going to talk about, and the inverted pyramid, which I'm going to show you, will help you get content and organization. And that's the secret. Okay, now, if you want these slides, I'm going to leave this up for a second. I'm going to hold on just a second. I'm going to do something here that... There we go. I'm gonna leave this up so you can take a screenshot of it. If you want the slide deck, I will be happy to send it to you. We did when we had power outages and it came back on. It scrambled a lot of things, so we're going through it. There were a couple of slides that we need to go back in and fix, and I don't know how when you turn off power and send it back into the computer, why in gosh name, how it goes in and changes stuff that you've worked on, but it does. So, but I'll be happy to send you a clean deck of these slides, if you send it to me at john@johngself.com, john@johngself.com. Okay, so a job has essentially several categories. I mean, it just does. Okay, there's operations, there's financial management, there's human resources, there's governance, which is maybe to the board, but more than likely to vice president or senior vice president or CEO. It's your relationship and reporting. You have regulatory and compliance, especially if you're in fields like healthcare or other scientific pursuits. Everybody has stringent areas of regulatory and compliance, academics, etc. So you have to, if you've got a department that has that responsibility, that's one of the categories. And then you have marketing and sales, and people say, well, I work in a department and we don't have sales. Well, you're providing a service. And so you look at feedback on people that you supply the service to internally, are they happy? Are they looking to you as a trusted resource? Okay, so that's if you're in one of those departments that doesn't have really a direct sales, that means you're in a staff function. But there's ways to measure your value as well, and you need to do that. Okay, so you take your value brand statement. We've talked about that. If you're one of your community group members and you've gone through the courses, you know that we teach a course on value brand, your value brand statement. With a hat tip to my former colleague, Nancy Swain of Dallas. Nancy came up with this concept years ago. All I have done is I respect her work and try to not copy her work, but I've tried to develop it more from my perspective as a recruiter. She is an extraordinary coach and came up with a concept called the value proposition. Who are you? Why the hell should somebody hire you? So that's what your value brand statement is, and it's a statement, a story built around 4 or 5 strengths. You can only have 5 max. Mostly it's 4. Why? Because you're not going to be focused after you get to 5 or greater. 5's okay if you really can justify that. And to get there, you put down all your strengths on the left side of a page, and then you start writing down, why is this a strength? What's the proof? I could say the proof may be as silly as an anecdotal statement. When I was growing up, I worked for my father in a retail bakery, and he was a master cake decorator, and we did a lot of wedding cakes. I mean, there were 8 or 10 on some Saturdays during the spring season. And I took wedding cakes all over East Texas, and I never had one fall apart. I've never had a big problem. I've had to fix going to weddings. I've had to go fix other cake decorators' disasters, and I'm not a cake decorator. I was a pot and pan washer and a delivery guy. But let me tell you something. I never had a problem in any of my deliveries, and so I could say I'm really good at delivering wedding cakes. I'm really good was really good as a crime writer because I got most of everything every night without fail, and I didn't miss anything. I also had a lot of exclusives, and I also broke stories regarding the Texas Department of Corrections. So, I could say I was a good reporter. Was I a great writer? Probably not. Could I have been a better reporter? Yes, I was young and growing. But this is how you do it. I'm a great financial officer. Okay, what's the proof? Well, I reduced my days in accounts receivable. I built up my cash days on hand, tripled it. I was able to reduce the inventory that we had per occupied bed or per occupied whatever unit of service. All of those quantifiable metrics. That's the real proof. Quantifiable metrics. Well, John, I don't remember that. Well, let me tell you something. Start keeping a journal. A career journal. Every week, write down significant things that happen, your reflections. When you have a big decision, maybe take some time on a Saturday morning before everybody is up or Sunday night before you go to bed and start the new week. Reflect on the decisions you made and how you made them. Did you have the right people involved? Were you attentive at meetings? Did you listen and then act decisively? Or did you come in and dominate meetings? How did you perform? And then what were some of the things that you accomplished this week? A big thing today is I reduced the turnover rate, which is massive dollars. If you're HR, I was able to streamline our hiring process. We reduced the number of candidates that withdrew, and our hiring average tenure was 5 years, okay? In reality, even recruiting today, particularly management executives, 50 to 70% don't even last 18 months. So that's a quantifiable achievement, and that's how that works. So that's a VBS. And it's now take each category. And I have a form, and I'm happy to share it. You can go download it at johngself.com and click the membership portal. You have to sign up. You don't have to pay anything, but you download the form. If you have any problems with it or if any problems downloading, let me know. John at johngself.com. Now, download the form. For each of those categories, you're asked to put in your signature strengths. You're asked to put in your weaknesses. Why? Because you may be asked about that. And so you need to be thoughtful of those things before you go into the interview. The third thing you need to do is talk about your successes and how you achieve those successes. And that is where your stories come from. Sometimes how you achieve something is really remarkable. Sometimes finding out how you're getting a job that changes your life is pretty remarkable. Or you can almost say it was that hallway conversation changed my life, but I've had thousands of hallway conversations. So that's why it's important to keep a journal, and that's why it's important to think about the things that you've accomplished that you're really proud of, and how did you do it? Think about it carefully, the people, the personalities, the funny things that happened. You can't go into a 20-minute answer, but if you think about this with your strengths and your accomplishments, you can come up with quick little narrative stories that will engage the interviewer. They will build trust, and they will produce likability. Okay? And stories are emotional triggers, and that's what sets it all in motion. So the other thing you put in there are, I really screwed up 5 years ago on this HR issue. Okay, great. You may be asked about that. Why did you leave that job? It looks like you weren't there very long. Yes, I did something that I regret. I made a judgment that I thought was right and immediately showed it was a colossal mistake, and they let me go. And here's what I learned. And it was the most incredible experience for me. It was tough on the employee, and the company made it right. But for me, it was absolutely amazing story because it lifted me up. It made me a better manager, and it made me understand how my decision making at that time was not what it needed to be. Okay, people make mistakes. So now you've had a little. I've just told you a story, and you may. But if you know what you want to say about that, you're going to be in good shape. But if you don't know, if you hadn't thought about it, then you're going to mumble, bumble, and fumble into the end zone. And that's what they're going to remember about you. Is that what you want them to remember about you? No. So you think about your mistakes, the questions you hope to hell they don't ask, come up with great, honest, authentic answers. Be confident that you're ready. That will change your attitude. That will help lift you up for the rest of your interview. People say, well, wow, they didn't ask me all the stuff I was prepared for, but I was so confident that they were so complimentary. I hear that time and time again. In our coaching sessions, we show you how to use that core and categorical form. Okay, so you prepare. And one of the things you want to do is when you're preparing for an interview, you want to go to Google and look to see if they've had any layoffs or if they've been involved in any unseemly, untoward activities, things that you may not know about and that they may not have been honest enough to tell you about. You need to know that. If you're want to look at a big not-for-profit, a health system or some foundation, you can look at their 990s. You can even see what the big brass are making in terms of salary. Because as if you're in a 501c3 or some variation of a not-for-profit, and a lot of health systems are, the not-for-profit is kind of a misnomer. But anyway, you can go find out what the CEO makes. Okay, you can look at, so that's going to probably tell you about if your salary is exceptionally low, that tells you a lot about the culture of the organization. Vet your research. After you do all your research, you can say, oh my God, that means this, this, and this. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But you want to vet your research with people that may know. So if there's something potentially controversial, don't use it unless you understand it. Okay, that diminishes your credibility if you make that kind of mistake. Okay, you complete the core and categorical form for each component of the job. Okay, you don't just you look at it again and again for every interview you're going through. Now you also in that core and categorical form, it gives you a place to write down 5 or 6 questions you would ask if you were doing the interview. And that will give you some additional insight as to what questions they're going to ask. Go over the job summary very thoroughly. Now, as you go through the interview process, you're going to hear some of the questions again and again. Make a list of all the questions so you can go look at this because this is part of the process of being prepared for the crucial interview of whether you're going to get hired or whether you're going to be dumped into the trash bin. It's better to get hired. But it's also better to know if it's a company that you don't want to work for. Now, let's talk about the inverted pyramid. People go, what the hell is this? In the news business, and sometimes we bring lessons from our previous employers. In the news business, when you wrote a story back then, it was all about who, what, when, why, and where. That way, if the story was cut after the second paragraph, people would know that there was a traffic crash at 4 p.m. at Broadway and Elm. 2 people were critically injured. 3 people were transported to the hospital. The road was blocked for 3 hours, and police are investigating the cause. Okay? That's essential information. Unfortunately, some of our young journalists today can't write that way, but that's what you wanted to do because that is a way to get your main point out first. First paragraph, get it out there. So when you get asked a question, you want to get that first paragraph out there. They ask you a specific question about turnover. Yes. Don't start down and give them the history of all the regulation and turnover and all that stuff. I have a brilliant client, and he's so operationally oriented and so detail oriented that he likes to explain everything so that he knows. Well, I keep saying, that's fine if those people want to get into that level of detail. But if you start with the detail, you're probably going to lose them. Start with a big idea. I took turnover from 23% and down and reduced it to 6%. Based on our average cost of a turnover, I saved this much money. Most people don't go to the trouble to think about that as a great accomplishment. That's huge. That's huge. You know, what's your average length of stay for your employees, the people you hired? There's so much turnover. People come in, do you get people who stay and add value? Because that makes you look good as a good boss. Now, once you've gotten the big idea out there, I reduce turnover, now you get into the first level of detail. We had this, and these are here's the steps we took to solve the problem. Then you get to get into the detail there, but don't be long-winded. 3, summarize your reasons and your activities, and beginning with the initial response. So tie it all together. And the 4th thing you do is close the deal. Sell your idea. We did this because we took a systematic approach, and we paid attention. We paid attention to what our employees were telling us. And I'm one to tell you that one of the most important assets we have, it's not me. It's not anybody else running around as an executive or gets to have a nice dining room to eat in. It's the people who do the work. And those are the people I care about the most. Okay? Now that's a story right there. And at the end, you notice I slowed down. I'd reduce my tone. Why? Because I'm trying to elicit some emotion. And that's so important. So if you use this format and take your big accomplishments, and then write answers that write them down. Write answers that use this formula. And I guarantee you'll give better organized, more impactful answers. And when I tell you, I was a conversational interviewer, and I did extensive in-depth interviews. In our system, the first interview was your resume review. We were a small company. We didn't have big time technology. And so we reviewed each resume, manually. Okay. And we started off reading the professional summary. And if the professional summary did not really go to talk about what we're looking for, if they didn't change that to really help make it easy for us, then we just did a quick rundown for the rest of the resume to see if there was anything outstanding. And if not, we probably pitched it. Why? Because we had a lot more resumes than we had opportunity. Then there were more people looking for the job, and we had one job. And so that's how it happens. The average resume, when it's manually reviewed, is about 20 seconds. So you want your resume to, what you're talking about in your resume, you want that to be inverted as well. When you get down to your, and this is part of an interview. When you get down to your accomplishments, you always put your biggest, most impressive accomplishment first. It may have been something you did the last month you were there, but that always goes first if that's the biggest and best accomplishment, particularly if it speaks to the skills that they've outlined in the job summary that they're looking for. So this can be an incredible tool for you to use. If you have questions and want to talk to me about it, you can go to our website, the bottom of the page, and there's a thing down there. It's a remarkable thing. It's called Talk to John. Okay? Now, yes, I'm talkative, and I could probably chat up a brick wall. But I will answer your questions, and I'm not going to try to sell you anything. We've got great stuff. We've got great community. We're trying to build it. We want great people involved to help us grow it. But I'm going to answer your questions and try to get to know you. And that's it. No sales pitch, no pressure. I once sat in on a very famous speaker, 2 guys, Tony Robbins and Dean Grazioli, and they got to the end. They were trying to sell you on a course, and it was relentless. It was relentless. I got the feeling at the end of the conversation that I was a dummy, worthless piece of what, because I didn't sign up. Okay? And a lot of people don't sign up because they don't have the money. Well, I'm here to help. Now, I want you to become a member. It's $49 a month, but you don't have to. You can hire me to be your premium coach, $4,200. You don't have to, because I'll answer your question, whether you're a paying member or not. Now, you're not going to always have the access to me that my members and my premium people do, but I'll be happy to take a call from you. If you're a member of our membership group, you get 3 free consults a month on the telephone. We're probably going to add one face-to-face, a 30-minute face-to-face on that. We also do 3 group coachings like this every week, 2 to 3 every week. And so that's why, that's $49 plus all the courses we've already recorded that are online on demand. You can get to them as many times as you want, whenever you want. And we're getting ready to start in the fall the process of updating everything and putting a fresh face on it. But if you want to become part of a member, we're not interested in your money. We're more interested in your ideas. We're more interested in the contribution you can make. We have a small community now. We want to build it into a great community. Why? We want to have a community where we can give words of encouragement, support, and, every once in a while, it's just a great thing to bitch to a bunch of people because your wife doesn't want to listen to it, or your husband doesn't want to listen to it, your partner. And sometimes recruiting, trying to get a job when you need one, is an old friend of mine in South Carolina, Dr. Terry Satterwhite. He was a great infectious disease doctor at the University of Texas at Houston, the late Dr. Satterwhite. And you'd say, how do you feel? And he says, it's been a bad day. I feel lower than hammered whale shit. So pardon my indelicacy there, but you will feel that way going through referral or going through recruiting, especially if you don't have a network and you're depending on online submissions and you never hear anything back. Hey, hot flash, a lot of people get 100 or more applications just to get 1 or 2 offers. That's a terrible, terrible way to find a job. So we can help you speed that along. Focus on the essentials. Now, if you invest in developing those elements, you will improve your interviewing process. And it's just a matter of time. Just doing that exercise one time is not going to make you a great interviewer. And you have to practice some of your anticipated answers before you go, because how you deliver it is as important as what you're saying. Okay, let's just talk about the essentials for mastering a job interview. First of all, understand your value, create your VBS. This is a must. It's a must. Do not apply for jobs unless you meet 80 to 85% of the selection criteria. Why? Well, if you're being referred by somebody who says, look, you're not exactly what they're looking for, but I know you, and I can tell that hiring manager that you are the guy for this job. Okay, that's different. But if you're depending on that computer to make a life decision for you, you're whistling past the graveyard. Don't waste your time. Don't generate a rejection that you didn't need. So apply for the jobs you're really qualified for. Be honest. Master who you are. Master your brand. What have you accomplished? Can the computer scanner see that on your LinkedIn profile? Does the scanner pass your profile and go, hot damn, this is the person we need to talk to? Okay? Or, maybe a recruiter who's doing it manually sees that and says, oh my God, this is perfect. So have your brand, develop it. It's based on your value brand statement, but it's more than just your VBS. It is things that you've accomplished. It's your style. It's the issues that are important to you. So please be careful. Don't post to religion or politics, not because you're wrong or right on either issue. It's just because there's a lot of people that are going to disagree with you, so there's no need to go down that path. In business. Now, do your research on the employer. If something is concerning you, try to vet your findings with maybe salesmen that you might know, or you may know a salesman that calls on your business, and he may be part of a company that works in a different market that serves that organization. What does that mean? Are they in trouble? Or do they treat their people right? Is there a lot of turnover? You need to vet your findings. Now, break down the job summary using core and categorical worksheet for each position you pursue. This is your study sheet. This is, if you're on the plane flying across country to do an interview, this is the sheet you've got with you when you sit down in your chair. This is a sheet, or 6 or 8 sheets, your document that you're going to look through and think about how you're going to answer questions. And you want to practice in your mind, pacing, tone. That's what it takes to become a good interviewer. You want to use the inverted pyramid worksheet for answers to anticipated questions. And I want to pause here for a second. We've got a few more to go, but if you have any questions you want answered today, drop them in the chat box. I am very, very happy to answer any questions. And we will not use your name. So we hope that you'll do that. So use the core and categorical form to think about your content. Use the pyramid form to organize how you want to deliver the answers. Does that make sense for you? Okay, thanks. 9, focus on the probable first question. Jeanette, Peter, Kathleen, tell me about yourself. Now, they are not interested in you summarizing your resume. Okay? You may be real proud of being the Life Flight first director, and that's great, but they want to hear the story of who you are, where you grew up, what mom and dad taught you succinctly. You got 90 seconds or more to do this. And you want to think about this in advance. You want to write this down and you want to practice it. You want to take it not to your brain, but to your heart. Don't memorize it. That's going to sound terrible. Okay? Focus on the probable first questions. Tell me about yourself and have a great, compelling answer, because that's going to determine whether you have a great interview. Rehearse in front of a mirror, fine-tune your tempo and tone. Now, here's the plus tip: telephone and video interviews, and there are going to be more and more of those. TV, this is TV. Okay, I'm in a studio. We don't have we're not using the green screen on this particular broadcast, but sometimes you would not know, where I was. So, it's kind of, it's kind of crazy, but that's the way it goes. I mean, that's the magic of TV. And TV, whether it's closed circuit or not, is still TV. And so you have to be prepared. You have to work at building this up. Okay? You really have to practice your video. You have to practice about how you're going to look. You have to have good lights. You have to have good volume. Good speaker. Now, a lot of computers have great speakers that will suffice for great for interviews. If you're going to start doing video on YouTube and other things to promote your brand, then you need a better microphone. Something like this. This is a Steinheiser and a studio mic. It's a UBS mic, because they're easier to manage. There's not as much equipment required to feed them into the computer. But anyway, video. Do not look down at your notes. A lot of people will say, "Oh, that's a good question," and they'll look over at their notes. And after they do that, I didn't look very far, but it looked like I was about ready to fall out of my chair. Okay. And you don't want, if nothing knocks on the floor, you don't want to pick it up. I mean, my gosh, now you've looked away. I mean, these are all distracting things. You have to think about, would you want to go on a TV show and do all that nonsense? No. Would you want to go on a TV show and have a bad background? Now, this is my office background. Those are architectural sketches back there if you're interested. But you have to respect it. It may be closed circuit. It may be on your computer, but it is video. So don't look at your notes. I'm going to show you a picture in just a minute that'll give you a tip on how to do that. On telephone, do not read your answers from worksheets, because recruiters know that when you're doing it. They hear it. They can hear it in your voice. So don't do that. Be disciplined enough. If you've got great answers, and you may need a few cheat notes, that's great. But don't read the answer. I've had people read answers to me in interviews. Don't. Now, if you have to do a telephone interview, most recruiters have LinkedIn profiles. So go to their profile, print their photo, and then talk to the photo, not the phone, not to the voice. Talk to the person that you're looking at. That will make a difference in the tone of your voice and how you engage. Now, here's the tip. Arrange cue cards on either side of your camera. Now, you can't see, the people can't see those cards. Why? Because it's right between the camera and they're looking out, boom, and they see you. And if you have, if you have something like reduction in turnover, 3 dot points, 3 little statements that'll help jar your memory. It's important to do those things. Do not use one of the affordable teleprompters, because you may have an answer at the top that they're going to ask you at first, and then the next answer may be to the bottom, and you can't start moving the teleprompter copy around. Use these manual cards. You can, maybe have 2 more on either side. I have a big screen, but keep your eye focused on the camera. I struggle with that just like everybody else. This green light that I'm looking at right now, that's the eye of the interviewer. And what are you always told about interviews? Make eye contact. You can't make eye contact down here. You can't make eye contact over here. You got to make eye contact right there. Okay? So that's the important thing. This is a great little tip to help you keep focused. Some people take little red arrows on either side of the green light, the sticky notes, and put it up there. That makes them look up at the red arrow. Now, your takeaways. Don't be intimidated or deterred. Okay? We could go in there and we've talked about the things you need to do, but these are the big two issues. Do not be intimidated or deterred because you're going up against some really bright, capable, talented people. Okay? You don't be intimidated or deterred by this convoluted, crazy, dysfunctional system that we're using right now. But these things happen when there's major change occurring. The great solution sometimes is not the great solution. And so you have to work through, and what you start with is not what you end up with. Okay? Some of the things that I look back on that we did early on with computing and marketing, it's just ridiculous. I mean, we thought it was the smartest thing in the world, and it didn't work. It didn't fit. It didn't enhance the flow of the buying decision. Okay, so I think that it's really important to not be intimidated by the technology, by the TV. It can be your greatest friend. Okay, you don't have to have makeup. But you need 2 good lights. You're going to be, or 1 really good halo light. You're going to be using video. If you're a manager or an executive, you're going to be using video for the rest of your career. Okay, whether you're doing team meetings to remote staffs, whether you're working with remote workers, you're going to have to be good at TV. Good leaders are good communicators, whether it's in front of a one-on-one in an office, one-on-one on TV. You got to be a good communicator, and you have to learn this technology. Don't be intimidated or deterred. Run to the challenge. Okay? Everybody else wants to whine and complain. One guy the other day said, well, this is ridiculous. The computers are making decisions. I don't want to be subjected to that. I don't want to have a network. I don't have time to network, but I don't want to go through all this. I said, if you want to have an argument with a recruiter, if you want to argue with the computer, you're going to lose every time. So run to the challenge. How is this working? What do you have to do today to be successful? Do that. Don't just sit around waiting for God to motivate you or waiting for somebody to come take care of you. I'm here to help you, but I'm not going to save you. I will lift you up. I will encourage you. I will care about you. I will stay with you until you find a place. But you're going to have to do the hard work, not me. I have to do a lot of hard work trying to deliver content that will make you motivated, that will make you more informed, that will give you more insight and give you greater confidence. So this is something. Run to the challenge. I hope you will join us next week. We are working right now on some great live streams. Tuesday, we have Lunch and Learn. So hope to God, we're not going to have a bunch of storms that knock us off the air again. Lunch and Learn at 11:30 a.m. on Tuesday. It's a group coaching session. And if you're a member of our community, you get announcements what the subject matter is when we release those. Probably we'll release those tomorrow afternoon. Okay, so go visit our community. You don't have to. It doesn't cost you to look. Visit johngself.com. Click that little red button on the right side. I'm proud of what we're doing. We don't have many members yet, but I want to build a community. It's not about me. It's about helping you. And as long as you stay active in the community, you're never going to get an increase in your membership dues. And we're going to keep adding value. When you're a member, you get the 3 telephone calls a month. We're going to probably add one video call a month. And we're also going to continue to strengthen our newsletter, which you will get. If you're not a member and want the newsletter, it's $7 a month. Okay? So that's kind of where we are. We have 500 and something new people subscribing to our newsletter. So we think we're on the right track. And we're on the right track because we believe that we're about helping people not just find a job, but do it in a way that helps them transform their life. Work balance. I'm a big believer that if you're happy at home, you're happy with your partner, your spouse, or your wife, or your husband, and you're happy at work, that's as good as it gets. Okay? And that's what you're going to be a happy person. That's what we want to help you find. We're not here just to educate you. We're here to help you find the life you want to live, and professionally and personally. Okay, I hope this has been helpful information to you. And we want to thank you for joining us today. And again, listen to the words of Simon Sinek.
All you need is one person in your life who says, "You got this, I believe in you," and you will find courage and energy to do things that you would not have had before. But more importantly, that person needs to also say, "And if everything goes wrong, I will be there for you, and I will be there with you, and I will be in the mud with you," and has the ability to say, "Something's wrong, I'm worried about you." And I think burnout happens when you're attempting to do all of the things you see other people do and not realize that they have deep, meaningful relationships that you can't see. And you think, falsely, that you have to do it alone. And that's when burnout happens, because you don't, as an individual, have the energy. But in community and in relationship and in friendship, it's remarkable, including knowing when to just take a little break to recharge.
Thank you for joining us today, everybody. We really appreciate your support. We appreciate your input. Please feel free to communicate with us at info@johngself or john@johngself.com. We are here for you, and we want to help you grow your career. I hope you can, I've had an incredible career, and now I'm so lucky to be able to sit here in a studio and try to help people avoid the mistakes I made. Now, all this new technology, there's a world of new mistakes that we're all going to make together. But we're here to help each other, keep you informed of how the technology is changing, to give you encouragement and to support you even when you fall in the mud. Take care, and we'll see you next week.